Hello! My name's Davis and I enjoy playing video games. Welcome back to the Linus run of Stardew Valley. In this playthrough, I'm attempting to prove that the well-known backyard camper, Linus, could have saved Pelican Town by completing the community center before the player ever arrived in the valley. We've already been through 2 months, so if you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out. Or don't. This really shouldn't be that hard to follow, so you can probably fill in the gaps. The basic rundown is I started a new file as if I were Linus. The only rules are that I have to start with nothing, and I cannot, under any circumstances, interact with a wild man in the mountains. I don't know who that is, but I get the feeling that if I do, one, some, or all of us could cease to exist. With nothing to my name, I'm scrounging for anything I can get my hands on to help me progress. It turns out, the biggest hurdle has been getting into the mines. I've found myself in a bit of an infinite loop where I need bombs to get bombs. So let's see how the next month goes. I started off the season with a bang by immediately finishing the fall forage bundle. But let's be honest, the forage bundles are some of the easiest to complete. I had this one knocked out in the first 4 hours of the first day. That being the case, I got to work on catching the fall fish that had been as of yet unavailable to me. I still need the tiger trout and the walleye. Seeing as how it wasn't raining, all I was looking for was the tiger trout. And wouldn't you know it, I caught a smallmouth bass. Well, at least it had the courtesy to bring a piece of jade with it. Okay, let's try again. Here we go. A salmon? What? Okay, I guess I'll try again tomorrow. On day 2, I picked up the first of my 2 maple syrups necessary for the community center and got to fishing. I fished basically all day and finally, after what I can only assume was the complete decimation of the salmon population, caught a tiger trout. Along with all those fish, I also fished up a skeletal tail and a dinosaur egg. I'll likely donate the tail to the museum, but I want to hold on to the egg for now just in case I need it for something. For the next couple of days, I just killed some time fishing and foraging while waiting for a cart day. On day 3, I picked up a request on the new special orders board to catch 10 albacore for Demetrius. I tried to use a bubble spot for this, but in the amount of time it took me to buy bait from Willie, it disappeared. Wait, see if there's any bubble spots. There is. Oh, okay. Stay there, stay there, stay there. How did it leave immediately? Then on day 4, I found an orange and a peach for the community center in the Batcave, and wrapped up the day with leveling up my foraging skill to level 8. Then, when a cart day finally rolled around on day 5, there was nothing for me, so I went back to killing time. Killing more time meant more fishing, which led to finding a few new artifacts to donate to the museum on day 6. And even though there weren't any bombs in the cart on day 7, I did manage to get wool and a melon for the community center. This also happened to be the first rainy day of fall, so I could also finally catch the walleye to complete the night fishing bundle. Day 8 was the start of blackberry season, so I spent most of the day collecting all the blackberries I could find. I also found an apricot in the bat cave, which I needed for the community center. And when I returned to the farmhouse, I noticed that the crystallarium had duplicated my diamond, and this gave me an idea. Remember that jade I fished up about a week ago? I could pop that into the crystallarium and duplicate it to trade for staircases in the desert to make progress in the mines. I still wouldn't be able to do any mining, but I could at least find a quartz to pick up, and then I could duplicate that to buy bombs. No traveling cart necessary. And if that wasn't good enough, as luck would have it, I found a basket out by the tunnel exiting town that would work perfect for collecting berries. I opted to hold on to it for future foraging endeavors. Because at this point it was just a waiting game for either the cart or the jade, I spent the rest of berry season picking blackberries. And my new basket made it so easy that by the time berry season ended, I collected over 300 blackberries. And yet, I didn't go up a single level in foraging. How could that possibly be? Anyway, when I checked the card on day 12, I bought a large goat milk for the community center, since there were no bombs to be had. Then, while clearing trees on the farm, I decided that if I was going to get any hardwood, it was time to upgrade my axe, so I started smelting copper ore. Then, on the morning of day 13, I ran over to Clint's to drop off my axe with 5 copper bars for upgrading. Since tools were such a precious commodity in this playthrough, giving one up felt a bit like going back to the dark days of the start of the run. But I figured I made do without it then, so I should be able to handle it now. I was a bit unsure on how to spend my time though. I suppose I could have fished more, but I noticed I was starting to run out of storage, so I made some more chests and reorganized. I also took some time to remark on just how much the statue at the mountain warp point reminds me of an Ewok. I always thought this looked like an Ewok. Day 14 was a Sunday, so I ran down to the traveling cart, which had nothing of interest. I scared some birds on my way to check the trash, which also had nothing. Since I was still without an axe, I tried to fish at a bubble spot by Lewis's house, but it disappeared as I walked up to it. With my interest in fishing spoiled by such a rude batch of bubbles, I had what can only be described as an objectively bad idea. Because Sunday is the day the desert trader will exchange stairs for jade, and today was Sunday, I took my only 2 available pieces of jade to the desert to do just that. In retrospect, in fact, even as I was doing it, I knew I should have waited like a week to build up jade to ensure I could find quartz in the mine, but I was too excited. Regardless, I took my 2 staircases to the mine and just hoped I would get enough free ladders or enemies to spawn ladders that I would be able to find quartz. But I didn't need any of that because... Level 2, baby. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow. What absolute luck. That is crazy, dude. I cannot believe after all of this time, we've finally, oh hello, gotten a single quartz on floor 2 with 1 stair. That's all I needed. I didn't even need that extra jade. All I needed was 1 stair, and we got to it. Now those didn't drop any ladders, so we're done for the day, basically. But that's all we needed. That is all we needed. Yeah, I got the quartz. I admit that it wasn't a good idea, but it worked out, baby. And now all I have to do is pop that sucker into the crystallarium until I have enough to trade for a bomb. And then I can blast this rock at the mine entrance and start buying bombs from the dwarf until I level up mining and can craft my own. Just one slight hiccup. Oh no, I don't have an axe. Hang on, I have no way to get the jade out. Can I whack it? No. Okay. Can I fish it out? Hang on. No, okay. That would be crazy. But my axe was ready the next morning, so I ran over to Clint's to pick it up and swap out the jade for quartz. As I returned to the farm, I was befuddled by the sight of Emily getting onto the bus to the desert. Like, I know she's friends with Sandy, but I didn't know she actually goes to visit her. If you go to the desert at that point, can you actually find Emily in the desert? I've never seen this before. And I didn't have time to find out because I was on a mission to start getting more quartz. Once I had that cooking, I started using my new axe to clear the stumps from the farm and collect the hardwood I needed for the community center. And while doing that, I found a mahogany seed, which I planted to ensure I had a renewable source of hardwood in case I needed any more for some reason. As I walked down to say good morning to the wizard on day 16, I collected the pine tar I was waiting on, which was the last tree product I needed. Then, when I found the wizard's door locked, I was reminded that today was the Stardew Valley Fair. Having done zero preparation for it, I gathered an assortment of high-quality items and hoped for the best. Upon arrival, I checked the festival shop to determine how many star tokens I would need before I left. I wanted to get the star drop, a scarecrow, and a glowstone ring, which, in all, would cost me 3,800 tokens. Forgetting that you get tokens as a reward for winning the Grange display, I opted to pay for a round of fishing to get me started. Then I took my 432 tokens right over to the color wheel and turned them into 5,132 tokens. I deposited my Grange items and told Lewis I was ready for judging. After getting another 1,000 tokens for first place, I collected my items and bought out the entire festival shop. Before bed, however, I had to make a quick late-night trash dash. And it had to be quick because I forgot about it until it was too late. I cut it way too close for comfort. On day 17, as I waited for quartz to materialize, I picked up what appeared to be an innocuous request from the Special Orders Board. All I had to do was collect 20 pieces of trash around the valley, which seemed easy enough. It was a little odd that the request seemed to have come from me, but I figured it was fine if I just went ahead and did the cleanup myself. I easily fished up enough trash by the end of the day and deposited it in the recycling bin behind the train station. Then I casually went to bed without a care in the world, eager to go to the desert tomorrow with my 5 quartz. I woke up the next morning to a bizarre letter from myself in the mail, thanking me for cleaning up around the valley. Just to be sure, I did double check that I still had not met a certain individual. And then again, pushed it from my mind because I was too excited to get to the desert. When I got there, I quickly traded for a bomb and went right back home to unlock access to the dwarf. Unfortunately, what should have been a moment of celebration became a moment of panic as I entered the mountains. A cutscene of NPC Linus relaxing in a cool, clean lake. A cutscene, I might add, in which I took no part, forced me to meet this wild man of the mountains. After a few moments of sitting silently in despair, it clicked. No! That special orders request. The completion of said request triggers this cutscene the next time you enter the mountains. I had been such a fool! Right when I had finally broken the quartz barrier and blasted into my mining and farming era, everything was crumbling around me. I had to take drastic measures to remedy my mistake. The rule was not to interact with Linus at all costs, and today, that cost was resetting the day. After doing some testing, I determined that it wasn't actually the completion of the quest, but rather opening the letter I had gotten in the mail that morning that triggered the cutscene. So I was prepared to never open any mail for the rest of the game. But after one more test, I discovered that if I skipped the cutscene quickly enough, likely before Linus's dialogue triggered, I could bypass the introduction of the last villager. Which was good, because I would like to keep opening the mail. I was relying on a lot of freebies that come in the mail. So after skipping the cutscene, I ran back to the desert, picked up the bombs again, and headed back to the mines. And finally, after weeks of work and scrambling to save the run at the last minute, I made it to the dwarf. It's time. We have entered the mines. Oh no. Oh no. No, no! I have to have dwarf scrolls! I can't buy anything until I have dwarf scrolls. I have to learn the language. So there I was, walking home, bombless once more. I started to reassess my situation. I needed to progress through the mines to find the 4 dwarf scrolls, which would allow me to communicate with the dwarf to buy bombs. At least I'm not back to square one. I still have quartz cooking. I'll just have to wait a bit longer and build up a stock of bombs this time. It's still the same plan, it's just going to be a bit slower going. Or do I swap the quartz out for jade and go back to trading for staircases and progress that way? I was unsure, but there was one thing of which I was certain. I needed a win. So I pulled out everything from the community center chest and went on a donation run. The next day, as if to rub in all of the hardship I went through to get a bomb, the traveling cart had a cherry bomb for sale. No way! No way! Are you kidding me? How dare you? How dare you? What? Of course she did. The next day, the absolute next day. Yeah, I'm gonna buy it, obviously. Thank you. But not one to be trifled with, I decided I would not continue to duplicate quartz for bombs, but instead produce jade for staircases. It would take relatively the same time to make 1 jade as it would for 5 quartz, plus the staircase is guaranteed progress rather than needing to hope a ladder appears from broken stone. I chose to ignore the fact that this logic likely made all of the work I did to get a bomb in the first place a total waste, seeing as how I would likely be getting bombs from enemies in the mines. Instead, I swung by the bat cave to pick up fruit and nearly ate the pomegranate I needed for the community center. No, no, no. Then I went fishing for resources. I decided I wanted to upgrade the axe again to get into the secret woods, and for that I needed iron. The next few days were spent just keeping busy as jade produced in the crystallarium. During that time, I bought a poppy from the traveling cart for the community center, fished up all the iron I needed to upgrade the axe again, and caught the angler on my first cast. Nailed it. Okay, moving on. On day 24, I smelted the iron I had collected into bars for upgrading the axe. While I waited, I fished for trash to put through the recycling machine, and by the time I had the 5 bars I needed, it was too late to go to Clint's, so that would have to wait until tomorrow. On my trash run the next morning, Sneaky Pam spotted me digging through the trash by hiding behind the saloon. And then after I dropped off my axe at Clint's, Penny was bogarting the garbage can by the library, and I didn't have time to wait for her to leave, so... Now that whole family thinks I'm stinky gross, but hey, I'm Linus, baby, that's what I do. Get over it. I spent the rest of day 25 fishing for copper ore because I had accepted a quest from the wizard for a copper bar, and while doing that, a courteous little red snapper brought me the frozen tear I needed for the community center. Day 26 was a cart day. It's been weird checking the cart ever since I got access to bombs because there hasn't been anything to actively look for. I've just been window shopping, and I was pleased to see this day that there was honey and a quality sprinkler in preparation for the new year when I can actually start planting some crops. Once I had donated the honey, that completed the artisan bundle, for which I received a keg. This was important because I needed to donate wine, and with this, I could knock that out easy. So after a quick trash check, I slapped the keg down on the farm and started fermenting some blackberries. Realizing that some of the bundle rewards might help me complete other bundles, I pulled the quartz and frozen tear, which I knew would complete the geologist bundle, to see what I would get. It was Omni Geodes, which is still pretty good, I guess. Later in the evening, because it was Friday, many of the villagers were gathered at the saloon for a night out. As I walked home after socializing for a while, a thought occurred to me. So is Jess just home alone right now? Like, Vincent has Jody at home, but both Marnie and Shane are at the bar right now. Who's watching after that child? Unfortunately, before I could give it any more thought, I was sidetracked by the amount of geodes I had amassed. I decided I'd have to do a geode run the next day. Except the next day was the Spirits Eve festival, so I'll process those geodes tomorrow. After I found the last apple I needed for the community center in the Bat Cave, there wasn't much else to do with the town shut down, so I spent most of the day at a bubble spot at the mountain lake. Once that was gone, I used a beach warp totem to teleport to the beach for some more fishing. This trapped me, of course, because I didn't have a farm totem to get back, but that was fine since I found another bubble spot right away. When it was time for the festival, I headed into town, knocked out the hedge maze, grabbed the gold pumpkin, and went home. Hooray! And with that, it was the final day of fall. I did a lot this month, and I had just a few more chores to handle before the new season. To start, my steel axe was ready, and I had geodes to process. So it was off to the blacksmith's. But first, a quick pit stop at the traveling cart, where I bought a snow yam because I wasn't confident I'd be able to dig one up during the winter, and an iron bar because, my finger slipped. Oh, it's purr. Oh my gosh. Idiot. On my way into town, I stopped by Marnie's to drop off a cave carrot that she had requested that morning, and that just happened to be available at the traveling cart. While I was there, a cutscene triggered where I was meant to splash water on Shane to wake him up. But here's the thing. I don't have a watering can. Where'd that come from? I don't have a watering can. Whose watering can was that? Ignoring that, I made my way to Clint's where I retrieved my axe and cracked open all of my geodes. I donated what I could and ran back to the secret woods to try and catch the wood skip for the community center. However, before I could catch one, I had to make my way up to the mountains because I also wanted to catch a midnight carp. Why? I don't know. But I don't think I needed a reason. I've made enough progress this month that I think I can afford to take a break and do some fishing for me. Besides, I could use this time while we wait for a midnight carp to reflect on the past month, which has been a roller coaster. Let's see. I completed a bunch of new bundles. The arts and crafts room and fish tank are poised to be completed within the next month. However, I did have a terrifying run-in with He Who Shall Not Be Met, but we figured it out. I also upgraded my axe twice, and I'm pretty sure that's as much as it needs to be upgraded. Plus, I finally got my hands on some quartz. Granted, I did end up changing my plan entirely to utilize staircases instead, but I'm still proud of the accomplishment. Although there was the glaring oversight of not being able to communicate with the dwarf. However you look at it, a lot has happened, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're curious to see how my plan to get bombs turns out, be sure to tune in for the next video. Hopefully I get to make some progress in the mines during winter, but until then, thanks for watching. Oh look, a midnight carp.